Welcome to The Explainer. So let's just dive right in, because today we are exploring a really massive paradigm shift. For decades, we've basically been spoon-fed this highly specific, incredibly rigid formula for entrepreneurial success. It goes something like this. Go to school, write a giant business plan, whatever you do, never fail, and try to make money as fast as humanly possible. But what if almost everything we've been taught is actually the exact thing holding us back? Today, we're pulling insights from a serial entrepreneur who literally built 19 companies over 30 years, and we are going to completely dismantle those traditional business dogmas. We're unlearning business. We're moving away from these rigid, dead-end plans and looking at how to build infinite, world-changing brands. To kick things off, I want to pose a pretty provocative question. Why do 80% of A students end up working for D students? Honestly, it sounds totally backwards, doesn't it? The traditional education system completely wires us to believe that top grades equal top success. But out there in the real, highly unpredictable world of entrepreneurship, the exact traits that make someone a perfect A student, the desperate need to always be right, the absolute terror of making a mistake, the obsession with just appearing smart, those can actually become their biggest liabilities. D students, on the other hand, well, they're used to getting things wrong. They are not paralyzed by the fear of a bad grade. And that fearlessness is exactly what you need to build something incredible. All right, that brings us to Act 1, the blueprint myth. It is time to unlearn the rigidity of traditional business planning. So, old school wisdom basically tells you that you have to write this massive 20-page business plan before you even do anything. You know the drill. You plot out your 5-year financial projections, you create these super rigid templates, and you try to somehow predict the unpredictable. But here is the reality. Traditional business plans actually kill a lot of companies. They're linear, they're restrictive, and when reality inevitably doesn't match page 7 of that document, entrepreneurs just panic. So, what's the new school alternative? The mind map. It costs absolutely nothing to make, there's no fancy, expensive template you need to buy, and most importantly, it's fluid. It's organic. Just like your brain, a mind map is infinite in its possibilities, which leaves you nimble and free to explore exactly where your business can actually go. Okay, so let's look at exactly how you build one of these. The process is incredibly simple. Step 1, you literally just start right in the middle with your hobby. What do you actually love doing? Not what's going to make the most money, but what could you happily sit and do all day long? Step 2, you form the core business around that specific passion. And then, step 3, you start branching out dynamically. Say your core is a podcast. Okay, well, maybe one branch shoots off to build a network of guests. Another branch shoots off into brand partnerships. And maybe, years down the line, a completely new branch shoots off into a web app or some awesome merchandise. You're just connecting the dots. It's living, it's breathing, and as the world changes around you, you just add another bubble. The whole point here is summarized perfectly by that famous boxing quote. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And look, in business, you are going to get punched in the face. It's a guarantee. A rigid 20-page plan just shatters on impact. But a mind map? A mind map keeps you nimble, kind of like a boxer in the ring. It allows you to weave, to pivot, and to instantly spot new combinations and opportunities so you can just keep moving forward. Welcome to Act 2, the failure advantage. We are going to unlearn this deeply ingrained fear of getting a bad grade in business. 1 million pounds. That is the exact staggering amount our source creator lost on a failed comic book business. Just let that sink in for a second. Most people are completely terrified to lose like $100 on a bad Facebook ad campaign. This is what massive, undeniable failure actually looks like. But here's the kicker. Instead of letting it destroy him, he used it. Because of that huge loss, we get this really incredible insight. He says, I guarantee you, if I hadn't lost £1 million on doing a comic book business, I wouldn't be rich or successful today. Embracing massive failure isn't just some cheesy motivational cliche you see on the internet. It is a literal prerequisite. It's the ultimate tool for long-term growth and resilience. Look, if you let things own you, or if you let a single failure define who you are trapped. But losing teaches you exactly how to bounce back. And that brings us right back to what we like to call the D student advantage. If you want to win, you absolutely must let go of your short-term ego. Stop worrying about driving the right car just to impress people who really don't care about you anyway. Honestly, learn to enjoy looking like a loser for a little while. Let your competition totally underestimate you. And another thing, we have to unlearn the lie that simply working mindlessly hard automatically equals success. Because it doesn't. Think about it. If hard work alone guaranteed wealth, every single nurse on the planet would be a multimillionaire. True success comes from prioritizing calculated risks and treating every single failure as a potent learning mechanism. Embrace getting a D. All right, this brings us to our final and honestly, maybe the most important phase. Act 3. The long game. Here, we really need to unlearn the desperate, super stressful rush for instant monetization. Okay, let's talk about the absolute secret weapon of sustainable success, delayed gratification. By definition, this is the practice of resisting the urge to just extract money from your customers on day one. Instead, you invest all that early time and energy into building massive value, fierce loyalty, and a really wide economic moat. If you are only focused on making a quick buck, well, your team is just going to want more money and your clients are just going to want to pay you less. It literally becomes a race to the bottom. Let's actually look at delay gratification in action. When our source launched his marketing agency, Fluid, he didn't charge his very first client a dime. He did the work completely for free. Now, I know a lot of business gurus out there will tell you to absolutely never work for free, but by issuing a $0 invoice and just drastically over-delivering on the value, he got that customer completely, 100% on his side. That single free job turned into a 16-year paying relationship, and that client ended up recommending the agency to literally everyone they knew. Giving massive value upfront built an entire referral empire. In this strategy, this is exactly how the biggest players in the world operate. Just look at the timeline for massive tech platforms like Facebook or Instagram. From year 1 all the way to year 9, what were they doing? They were building immense value and scaling these massive communities without asking the user for a single dime. They waited an entire decade before they really started pushing monetization. Why? Because they knew that if you build undeniable value and capture a massive audience first, the money is naturally going to follow. Pushing for revenue way too early often just ruins the user experience and completely bottlenecks your growth. This directly connects to exactly how you position yourself in the market. Think about this comparison: selling the steak versus selling the sizzle. If you are selling the steak, you're just out there pushing features, hourly rates, and technical specs. And honestly, it's boring. But if you sell the sizzle, kind of like how Steve Jobs did with Apple, you are pitching an identity. When Jobs launched a product, he didn't invite 3,500 people into an auditorium to geek out over an Intel processor. No way. He talked to the game changers, the misfits, the creatives. He pitched a vision of a better future. You can't just push a raw product. You have to market the core emotion and the ultimate purpose of your work. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this: you have to prioritize building a brand over merely building a business. When you focus on purpose over profit, this amazing thing starts to happen. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. If you hire people who genuinely align with your core purpose and you give them real equity and respect, you are never going to have to micromanage them. You manage the purpose and the people manage themselves. Look, a business might make you some money today, but a true brand, an identity that is built on real value, resilience, and delayed gratification, that value lives forever. When huge corporations buy smaller companies, they aren't just buying the business spreadsheets, they are buying the brand. Which brings us to our final thought. I really want you to honestly ask yourself, are you building a business right now just to make some money today? Or are you building a brand that is going to live forever? If you can unlearn the need for those rigid plans, if you can actually embrace your inevitable failures as just data, and delay your gratification to focus on real purpose, there is absolutely no limit to what you can build. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really can't wait to see the infinite brands you all create.